Now, I just saw the Detective Pikachu movie, and let me actually say, I've actually enjoyed every bit of that movie, and this was actually a perfect example of a video game based movie that actually come to real. Which the movie begins in a lab where scientists are actually doing research on Mewtwo, the clone of Mew, after they actually have a red alert, which Mew actually discovered that that person is still here. And so that person actually went into the car and actually drove off with Mew hot on his tail and actually caused the car to spun out of control when Mew actually hit it. Which we actually had over to the next scene in another town. We see Tim Goodman, who played by Justice Smith, who actually who actually trying to capture a Cubone with his friend Jack with a Pokeball, in which they actually succeed. And the Pokeball doesn't actually capture Cubone completely, so they actually try and run when the Cubones actually attack them. In which we see Tim actually became an insurance salesman after the absence of his father, which he actually got a voicemail that his father actually died, and so they actually want him to come to Rhyme City, where a city where humans and Pokemon come together, all in the hands of the town's benefactor, Howard Clifford, who actually created the city in which we actually see how the harmony between Pokemon and humans come together, in which we actually see the Rhyme City Police Department, where we see Tim talking to Hito Miyashida, actually gave him the address and the keys to Harry's apartment, where he can actually get his things. In which we actually seen Tim actually gone to the apartment where we seen Tim actually been encountered by Lucy, who actually have a side duck with her, and she actually wants to get the information about how Harry Goodman actually died, in which Tim doesn't actually know about that, in which we actually see Tim headed to the apartment where we see his room, and we seen the backflash of how Harry actually told his grandmother that his mother have died, in which he actually doesn't want to go to Rhyme City with him, but he gave him his train ticket on the 21st birthday card, hoping that they can get a chance to be together. In which we seen a file where R is actually been discovered by Tim, which he actually accidentally unleashed it and released it on a party of APOM actually started to change. In which Tim, right after the backflash, we actually see Tim actually met Pikachu, which he can actually talk, who's actually voiced by Ryan Reynolds, in which they actually have a really funny encounter with each other. But then they actually saw an APOP actually have lost control after R was actually exposed to them. As they were trying to escape, the whole party of APOPs actually tried to attack them. As soon as they actually escaped the apartment, they saw the APOPs actually gone back to normal, in which everybody tried to get to see what's all the commotion about when Tim tried to get people to see that Pikachu was talking, but he cannot actually talk to them because only he can actually hear Pikachu, in which Tim and Pikachu are actually headed to a coffee house where Pikachu actually revealed that he lost his memory the day that Harry got into that car accident, which Harry partner is Pikachu, since he actually wearing the detective hat where he actually has his name and address on it, in which we actually seen Pikachu and Tim actually figure out that Harry's death wasn't an accident because they actually knew that Harry was faking his death or somebody who faked his death, and so they actually going to get to the case in which they actually going to find Lucy to find out what R really is, and they actually got a tip that she said that Harry and Pikachu were actually going to the informant, who actually turned out to be Mr. Mime, which Tim and Pikachu were trying to catch him, and by catch, they actually saw him trying to run and actually try to do a motorcycle. That's what mines are actually do. So they actually capture him and they actually do the interrogation on him, in which they actually try to get into his head, in which they do what they actually did with Mr. Mime, because Mr. Mime had actually told them that R came from an underground Pokemon battle, which we actually seen how the people are excited about these battles underground, where they saw a battle between a Blastoise against Gengar, and they actually found out that it was actually owned by a owner named Sebastian, who's actually had a Charizard, in which he actually told Tim that Harry and Pikachu was down there, which Pikachu almost destroyed Charizard, which we see him with battle scars. And so Tim is actually going to find out about R, but only Sebastian will get a rematch against Pikachu and Charizard. And if they actually did that, Sebastian will tell them about R, in which we seen the battle actually happening, which means that Sebastian gave Charizard R, which gave him crazy, which means that Pikachu was trying to do his attacks, but he can't remember how he's doing his powers. So he tried to run away from Charizard, which caused Tim to try to save Pikachu. In which, when Sebastian tried to stop Tim, he actually let it on him because the R was in his coat and it was actually released all over and would cause every Pokemon to lose control, which Sebastian actually told Tim that he got the R from the lab, which the R is actually was created by a scientist known only as the Doctor. And so Tim and Pikachu escape, but they were actually being approached by the police, which the lieutenant is not actually happy, and so they actually dismiss them and won't let them investigate the case further, in which we actually seen the two having a heartfelt discussion about Tim's life before the two was actually been approached by Miss Nolan, Howard's assistant, who actually took him to Howard, who actually have a condition that he's trying to cure, and he actually have footage revealing that Harry did survive the attack, but he was actually approached by Mewtwo. As he erased Pikachu's memory, he actually captured Harry, in which we actually knew that Harry is actually still alive, which we don't know where he is. In which they actually go into the lab and they actually recruited Lucy and Psyduck as they headed over to the lab and break in. As they seen the lab, they actually saw they have done experiments on Pokemon, which they did power enhancement to Greninja, and they actually tried to do the growth enhancement on the Troterras, in which we seen Tim actually look into the files of what they actually seen, but we seen Roger, Howard's son, actually saw the group actually went inside, so he released the Greninjas, and they actually attacked Lucy and Psyduck, and we actually seen the two actually saw the doctor actually did experiments on Mewtwo, and they actually saw how they recaptured Mewtwo after escaping from 20 years ago, which that actually met from the first movie, as they saw how they used Mewtwo to create R. As so, they actually found out how they captured Mewtwo was actually Harry. And we've seen how Tim and Pikachu rescue Lucy and Psyduck from the Greninjas as they escape from the lab, in which we actually seen the Greninjas using their water shurikens on the group. But Psyduck actually launched a his headache because they are actually explosive when they're actually under stress. So they actually defeated the Greninjas, but they actually have gone into contact when the forests are actually moving, and they actually realized that it was actually the Troterras who actually grown big when they got the growth enhancement. But that actually caused Pikachu to be badly hurt, which Tim tried to get help, and that's when we saw Bulbasaur actually came, and Tim have actually communicated with Bulbasaur, and they took him to a healing Pokemon, which it actually turned out to be Mewtwo, who actually healed Pikachu and tried to reveal what had really happened. But it actually meant that Mewtwo was actually captured by Roger, who actually took him back, thinking that he was actually trying to betray Harry to a vengeful Mewtwo, which Pikachu have actually got his powers, but he actually told Tim that he's actually going to hurt everybody that he loves. And so he actually left Tim, but he's still trying to go to Rhyme City and trying to warn Howard, in which the Pokemon Parade is actually about to begin, which we seen Pikachu actually walking to the road, and that's when he actually realized that the road actually is where Harry's car was actually crashed, and he actually found some evidence that was actually related to the crash. It actually turns out that it wasn't Mewtwo that attacked them, but it was the Greninjas who actually used the water shurikens at the car. And Mewtwo was actually trying to attack the Greninjas, and they actually tried to help them. And that's when we seen Tim trying to reach and try to warn Howard. But it actually revealed that he was the mastermind behind this, as we seen he captured Mewtwo and Howard using the device to transfer his consciousness into Mewtwo's body. As he tried to did that, he revealed that they can actually do a transfer through the Pokemons, well, they actually been under the control of R. And so the balloons are actually filled with R as they release it, causing the Pokemon to go out of control, and Howard in Mewtwo's body will try to transfer humans to Pokemons. And we actually seen Pikachu actually arrive, and he actually using his electrification powers to battle Mewtwo. And then we seen Tim discover that Roger is actually the real one, and the fake one turned out to be a Pokemon named Daitu, and who transformed into Ms. Nolan, and he actually and Ditto is actually trying to transform into Pokemon, try to attack Tim, which Roger actually defeated Ditto, and which we actually seen how Ditto actually was defeated by Tim, where he actually used R on him, in which Pikachu actually fighting Mewtwo, which that actually wasn't an attack. He was actually distracting him by using Tim to remove the headband to give Mewtwo his real body back and Howard into his, in which Mewtwo have actually have restored everybody back to normal, while Howard is being arrested, which Walker is actually impressed by the group, and he actually hired Lucy as a full-time reporter, in which Tim actually wants to know what happens to his father, in which we seen Mewtwo reveal that Harry was actually fused inside of Pikachu in order to heal him. And so that actually meant he actually had to erase Harry's memory, and which they actually have undid the fusing process, in which Harry, who was actually played by Ryan Reynolds, and actually gave Tim a ticket back home. But it actually turns out that Tim wanted to go back, but he decided to stay with his father in order to learn to be a detective and actually spend more time with him and Pikachu. And that's actually the great idea for them to spend some time with each other. Now, I'm actually loving the designs of the Pokemons in the live action movie, and the characters were actually amazing. And I love Ryan Reynolds' performance as Pikachu, and we seen how in the end credits we seen the characters are actually like the Pokemon characters, and we seen how everything are actually like in the real world. And also, I actually have these exclusive Pokemon Detective Pikachu trading cards. Now, the reason why I got two is because I actually went with my mom and she gave me hers, so I can't wait to see what I actually got. Here's the first one. Wait, sorry about that. Let's see. I have Detective Pikachu right here. Snuffle. And we have a list of Pokemons that we're actually about to collect right here. And also on the back, all the Pokemons. And here's Pikachu. There's the second. We have Detective Pikachu again, and Bulbasaur right here. Wow, I'm actually loving the movie, and I love these cars right here. They're really amazing. So anyway, like this video, subscribe for more, and comment on what you think about the movie. You guys can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and like my Facebook page. That's the end. This is Anime Guy joining here saying sign out. Laters!